How does someone politely end a conversation with a person who won't stop talking? My dad's like this. When I was a kid/teenager, he'd follow me to every room of the house talking. If I went to the bathroom, he'd stand outside and continue talking to me through the door. If I had to leave, like to go to school, I would literally leave the house and he'd stand in the doorway and continue talking as I walked down the path and out of sight. He still does this when I go back home to visit. It wouldn't be so bad if he'd actually be willing to have a conversation. But he only talks at you. If you try and say anything, he just talks over you as if you haven't said a thing. EDA, so far in the replies, my dad has been armchair diagnosed with autism, bipolar disorder, hypermanic disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, and goodness knows what else. He doesn't have a mental illness. He talks a lot. It's just a quirk and I wouldn't have him any other way. If I could also stop being accused of not loving him/appreciating him and being told I'll miss him when he's dead, that'd be grand. Mental health worker here. I see patients every day who will talk forever if you don't stop them. You simply have to interrupt and redirect/or end the conversation. I always politely tell them, let me stop you there or let me jump in there. Sometimes you have to be abrupt or else you will be held hostage by the one-sided conversation. I know it's dubious to ask advice over Reddit, but is this a sign of declining mental health? I know a handful of people who are very far along in life and I could tell them I have to go because my house is burning down and they have to tell me 2 more stories about how Margaret's house burned down in '65 and she made the best soup and blah blah blah. Edit. So, from the comments I've gathered that talking a lot can be a sign of mental illness, but it isn't at all an exclusive cause. I'm complaining but I'll let my grandma ramble for an hour before interrupting. She isn't hurting anyone and letting her talk makes her happy. I'm young so I have plenty of time to spend on others. Not always. Those who are manic or who have ADHD can talk excessively, or sometimes it's just an anxious response. Some people just talk a lot. I have a good friend who is very down to earth and, as far as I've always been aware, mentally stable, but the girl can talk. Like my eyes will be glazing over and she will just keep talking. I just think she has so much to say she can't keep it in. Her whole family is the same way. Person with ADHD chiming in here that it is a very real problem for us. Rambling and tangents are almost impossible to avoid in conversation unless you've rehearsed it in your head first. Edit. Since this comment has gained a ton of traction, I want to take a moment to give a shout out to r/ADHD, which is an amazingly supportive community. Here is one resource about ADHD symptoms and diagnosis criteria. That article does not have an exhaustive list and ADHD manifests in each person different and in different severities. It is highly underdiagnosed in women and especially adult women. If you think you have ADHD but you're not sure, look at diagnosis requirements, talk to your friends/relatives about related symptoms, but most importantly, make an appointment with a psychiatrist to get tested because they're the only ones who can say for sure. Edit 2, also someone gave me gold, I guess? Cool, thanks random stranger. My first gold, laughing face, and the obligatory edit to say thanks. Yup, seconding. If you know a person has ADHD, and they're self-aware enough, you can come right out and tell them to stop taking. I'd rather someone tell me to shut up and walk away still liking me, than let me ramble and, eventually, walk away thinking I'm an ass or a bore. Absolutely. One of my big problems is retelling stories. I have a pretty terrible memory, so I won't remember if I tell someone a story. I hate it when people let me finish retelling a story and then let me know I already told them. Like, please. Don't let me waste your time with a story you've already heard. Just say something like, oh yeah, you told me this thing happened, right? And my feelings will not be hurt at all. I'm an Uber driver. I was once summoned to pick up 2 people for just this reason. They had me drive 4 blocks/0.25 miles/1.5 minutes to another bar just to get out of a conversation with someone. Minimum fare, $3.75, and $10 tip on the app. I'm an Uber driver. I was once summoned to pick up 2 people for just this reason. They had me drive 4 blocks /0.25 miles /1.5 minutes to another bar just to get out of a conversation with someone. Minimum fare, $3.75, and $10 tip on the app. On the flip side of that, there's a small subset of Uber drivers that seem to do it because it allows them to get a captive audience for conversation and just won't shut. They fuck up for an entire ride. It's one of the few things that'll cause me to knock a star or 2 off of their rating. You're my Uber driver, we're unlikely to ever meet again, but you do know where I live and that I'm not home tonight. You don't need to know how many kids I have or how I met my wife. I've been saying for years that Uber/Lyft need to add a quiet mode option for when you don't feel like engaging in conversation with the driver. I've had some friendly drivers where I didn't mind the conversation, but I've also had a few that I rated lower because they wouldn't shut the f***ck up. Most recently I was taking an Uber to Lax Airport and this lady was ranting about punishing her kid because he ate the entire pack of bologna at home, leaving none for his sister. Literally for an entire hour I had to listen about this in bologna drama. It was unbearable.